I approached the safe to retrieve my jewelry, but it was empty. My daughter-in-law met my gaze and declared, "Mom, we've donated everything. You no longer need those items." I calmly replied, "You're right, I don't need them anymore. But you, however, will be needing an attorney." The color drained from her face. My fingers trembled as I spun the dial. 3 turns right, 2 left, 1 more right. The combination I had reliably used for 3 decades. Click. The metallic sound echoed in the closet silence. The door creaked open, revealing emptiness. My emerald earrings from my 20th anniversary, my mother's pearl necklace, the gold bracelets marking each child's birth, the diamond ring for my first granddaughter, 30 years of cherished memories, all gone. My knees buckled. I clutched the doorframe, gasping for air. How? No one knew the combination. No one except... "Looking for something, Mom?" Valerie's voice, calm and almost amused, came from behind me. Slowly, I turned. She stood leaning against my bedroom doorframe, that familiar smile on her lips that never quite reached her eyes. "My jewelry. It's gone." Valerie crossed her arms, tilting her head. Ah, yes, the jewelry. A chill ran down my spine. "Do you know where it is?" She sighed. "We donated everything. You don't need that stuff anymore." "Donated. We donated." "What do you mean, we donated?" The words were barely a whisper. They were mine. They were all I had left of Ernest. Valerie shrugged. "It's just material things, Mom. You always say what's important is the heart, right? Besides, at your age, what do you need jewelry for? You don't go out anywhere anymore." My vision blurred. Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. I took a deep breath. Once, twice, and with a composure I didn't know I possessed, I met her gaze directly. "You're right, Valerie. I don't need that jewelry anymore." I saw her triumphant smile reappear, but I stepped closer to her. "But you're going to need a lawyer." The color vanished from her face, as if a mask had been torn away. For the first time in months, I witnessed her speechless. And in that moment, I knew the battle had just begun. Because I wasn't the confused old woman she perceived me to be. I had been a lawyer's wife for 40 years. I had raised 4 children. I had built a fortune from nothing, and no one was going to steal the last remnants of my life without facing consequences. Valerie recoiled. "Mom, I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, you don't know yet, but you'll find out very soon." I exited the bedroom, leaving her pale and trembling. Because that afternoon, I made the most crucial call of my life, a call that would alter everything. What do you suppose I did next? Did I contact the police? Confront my son? The truth is, I did neither. To understand how I arrived at that point, I must transport you back 3 years to the worst day of my life, the day I buried Ernest. It was March, a somber Tuesday, permeated with the scent of damp earth and white flowers. I wore the black dress he always said made me look elegant. 42 years we were together, and then a massive heart attack claimed him on an ordinary morning while we were having breakfast, planning our next trip to Hawaii. I never even got to say goodbye. The initial months were a silent torment. This house, once vibrant with life, transformed into a museum of suffocating memories. His mug in the cupboard, his armchair before the television, his scent on the pillows I couldn't bring myself to wash. My 4 children visited. Laura resided in Chicago, Charles in Austin, Patricia in Los Angeles, and Robert. Robert was the only one in New York City. My youngest son, my favorite. Robert had always been the most sensitive. He called every 2 days, spent Sundays with me, bringing my favorite fresh pastries. And then, 6 months after the funeral, he arrived with company. "Mom, I'd like you to meet Valerie." She was beautiful. Long dark hair, a flawless smile, eyes that seemed sincere. She carried a bouquet of sunflowers. "Mrs. Beatrice, it's an honor to meet you. Robert has told me so much about you. I'm so sorry for your loss." And I, God forgive me, felt a flicker of hope. How naive I was. In the ensuing months, Valerie became a frequent presence. She helped in the kitchen. She accompanied me to the farmer's market. She made me feel less alone. When Robert announced their engagement, I wept with joy. The wedding was modest, yet beautiful. I contributed to part of the reception. And then came the proposition. "Mother-in-law," Valerie said one afternoon over coffee, "you live alone in this enormous house. We're in a tiny rental apartment. What would you think if we moved in with you? That way we can keep you company." My heart soared. Company, not being alone, waking to voices again. "It would be temporary," Robert added, "just until we save for our own house. What do you say, Mom?" I agreed without hesitation. 2.5 years ago, Robert and Valerie moved in. Initially, everything was perfect. Valerie cooked. Fridays, we watched movies. Sundays, Robert grilled steaks, just as Ernest used to. I felt alive once more. But the changes began subtly, like poison administered drop by drop. First, it was the living room. "These couches are so old. What do you think if we replace them?" I agreed. After all, they were just couches. Then, the kitchen. "These dishes are all chipped. We need to update everything." Next came suggestions about my clothes, my book club friends, my choices. "No, Mom, you shouldn't buy that. It's an unnecessary expense." And like a fool, I complied, fearing they would leave me alone again, because Valerie always delivered these suggestions with a smile. The biggest blow came when she offered to manage my finances. "You shouldn't have to worry about paying bills and dealing with paperwork. Let me handle it. I just need you to sign here so I can manage the account." And I signed. I didn't realize I had just given her the keys to my own undoing. Little by little, this house ceased to be mine. Decisions were made without my input. My opinion no longer mattered. The vase Ernest brought me from Santa Fe vanished. The paintings my sister did were given away. My grandmother's rocking chair was donated because it was in the way. And when I protested, Valerie would look at me with pity. "You're becoming very difficult. Don't cling to the past so much." Robert never intervened. He worked all day, came home tired, and when I tried to speak to him, "Mom, Valerie's right. Just don't worry about those things anymore." My other daughters tried to warn me. "Mom, that woman is controlling you. Can't you see it?" Laura told me, but I defended her. "Valerie just helps me. Don't be unfair." Laura shook her head. "One day you're going to regret this, Mom." And she was absolutely right. What if the betrayal was coming from my own son? Living with Valerie felt like walking barefoot on broken glass every single day. And the worst part was, no one else saw it. To the outside world, she was the perfect daughter-in-law. But within these four walls, the reality was starkly different. Mornings became my nightmare. I had always been an early riser. My routine was sacred. Wake at 6, brew fresh coffee, listen to the news. But Valerie decided that created too much noise. "Mom, could you have breakfast later? Or at least not make such a racket?" "I need to sleep." A racket? She called my life a racket. So I began to breakfast in silence, barely breathing, feeling like a thief in my own kitchen. The aroma of coffee would fill the cold morning air. I would sip slowly, afraid that even the sound of the cup against my lips was too loud. The control over my money intensified weekly. One day, I wanted to buy a gift for my granddaughter, Sophia. It was her 12th birthday, and I always got her something special. I reached for cash in my wallet empty. I searched for my bank card. It wasn't there either. "Valerie, have you seen my card?" She looked up from her phone, annoyed. "I have it, Mom. Remember, I'm handling the expenses now. What do you need it for?" "I want to buy a gift for Sophia." Valerie sighed. "We already bought her something from the whole family. You don't need to spend more." "But I always buy her something special." "Mom, at your age, you don't need to be spending on whims. Why do you want to spoil the girl?" I just stood there, feeling small, useless. That day, I couldn't buy my granddaughter anything. When I went to her party, I arrived empty-handed for the first time in 12 years. The look on Sophia's face when she asked, "And Grandma's present?" still breaks my heart. My book club friends were the next victims. Every Thursday we met at Lucy's house. We discussed books, our lives. It was the only thing keeping me sane. But Valerie started to sabotage every outing. "You're going out again. Look how cloudy it is. You're going to catch a cold. Better stay home today." Or, "I have to go out and I can't leave you alone." Or, "Those women just fill your head with gossip. At first, I tried to resist. Valerie, I've been taking care of myself for 68 years. Don't be stubborn, Mom. I'm just worried about you. But then came the cruelest blow. One afternoon, Lucy called me, concerned. Beatrice, are you okay? Valerie called me saying you can't go out anymore because your health is fragile. I froze. What, Lucy? I'm perfectly fine. She said you're forgetting things, that you get confused, that the doctor recommended you don't go out alone. I felt the ground give way beneath me. Valerie was telling my friends I was losing my mind. When I confronted her, she looked at me with innocent eyes. Oh, Mom. It was a misunderstanding. I just told them we need to take better care of you. But the damage was done. My friends began treating me with pity. I stopped attending the meetings. And then came the greatest humiliation. One particular Saturday, wishing to restore my sense of self, I considered a trip to the salon for a hair treatment. I approached Valerie for some funds, only to be met with a dismissive chuckle. The salon? What for? Mom, you don't go anywhere. It's a waste of money. I merely wanted to feel good about myself. At your age, those things don't matter anymore. Besides, we need to save. She scrutinized me with disdain. If you want, I can cut your hair here for free. That humiliation became an enduring memory. Ernest had always extolled my elegance, gifting me perfumes and taking me to dinner, making me feel beautiful even in my 60s. Now his daughter-in-law was implying that personal grooming was a futile endeavor. Yet the most distressing part was Robert's silence. My son had become a phantom, returning late from work, eating in quietude, and retreating to his room. When I attempted to speak with him privately, Valerie invariably appeared. What are you two discussing? Any secrets? Robert would simply avert his gaze. One evening I discovered him alone in the backyard. I sat beside him, summoning my courage. Robert, son, we need to talk. He avoided eye contact. About what, Mom? About Valerie? About how things are here? I feel like this isn't my house anymore. Robert tensed. Mom, don't start. Valerie just wants to help you. Help me? Robert, she takes my money. She forbids me from seeing my friends. Enough, he bellowed. Mom, you're exaggerating everything. Valerie bends over backward for you. Do you know how much she sacrifices living here? I was speechless. My own son was defending her. Robert, no. Mom, you're the problem. You cling to the past. You don't accept change. You make Valerie feel bad all the time. He rose and abandoned me there, alone in the backyard, weeping silently. However, a flicker of doubt, of guilt, crossed his eyes before he left. It vanished so swiftly that I questioned if I had imagined it. That night, a terrible realization dawned on me. I had no allies left. I was utterly alone. Valerie had triumphed. She had alienated my son, isolated me from my friends, and seized control of my finances, my decisions, my very life. And I had permitted it, out of fear, out of loneliness, because I was unwilling to accept that the daughter-in-law I had so cherished was, in fact, a viper. But I had yet to comprehend the full extent of her malevolence. The worst was still to come. After discovering the empty safe and witnessing Valerie's face blanch at my threat, I did something she never anticipated. I remained silent. I neither screamed nor cried. I acted. Closing my bedroom door, I sat on the edge of the bed and breathed, once, twice, thrice. With trembling hands, I retrieved my phone. I searched for a number I hadn't dialed since Ernest's funeral. Mr. Patrick Miller, my husband's lifelong best friend, his partner at the law firm for 3 decades, Robert's godfather, a man privy to every document, every property, every dollar Ernest and I had accumulated. The phone rang twice. Beatrice, is that you? His warm voice nearly brought me to tears. Patrick, I need your help. Are you okay? Did something happen? I'm being robbed. My own family is robbing me. Don't say another word over the phone. Can you come to my office tomorrow at 10 a.m? Yes. Beatrice, Ernest made me promise that if you ever needed help, I would be there. We'll sort this out tomorrow. I hung up, feeling something I hadn't experienced in months. Hope. The following morning, I informed Valerie I had a doctor's appointment. She didn't even glance up from her phone. Do you need me to go with you? No, I'll take a cab. Well, don't be back too late, she said, as if I required her permission to leave my own residence. Mr. Miller's office occupied its usual space in the same Upper West Side building. My heart hammered as I ascended to the 4th floor. He greeted me with an embrace that, for the first time in years, made me feel secure. Sit down, Beatrice. Tell me everything. And I did. I recounted the missing jewelry, the financial control, Valerie's management of my bank account, the daily humiliations, and how Robert had become a stranger. Mr. Miller listened intently, taking notes, his brow progressively furrowing. When I finished, he removed his glasses. Beatrice, this is financial abuse. According to the New York penal law, it's fraud and potentially economic family violence under the state's elder abuse statutes. Can I do something? We can do a lot, but I need you to authorize me to investigate. Do you trust me with your life? Give me a week. That week stretched into an eternity. The days crawled by. The grandfather clock's tick-tock in the living room throbbed in my temples. Each time Valerie entered a room, I held my breath. At home, I pretended nothing was amiss. I smiled when Valerie issued commands. I nodded when she dictated what to eat, what to watch, what to do. I embodied the submissive old woman she desired, but inside I simmered. 7 days later, Mr. Miller called. Come tomorrow, I have information. This time, upon my arrival, a thick folder awaited on his desk. Sit down, Beatrice. This isn't going to be easy. He opened the folder, extracting several documents. First, the jewelry. I hired an investigator. They weren't donated. My heart skipped a beat. Where are they? In a pawn shop in the Bronx, under the name Valerie Ramirez. How much? $35,000. $35,000. Ernest emeralds, my mother's pearls. 40 years of memories transmuted into cash. There's more. He presented some bank statements. I've reviewed the movements in your account since you gave Valerie access. His fingers indicated figures highlighted in yellow. Consistent withdrawals, transfers, egregious purchases. How much? I queried, dreading the answer. Mr. Miller met my gaze. $89,000 in total. Nearly $100,000. My world halted. $89,000. Money Ernest and I had painstakingly saved through sacrifice. My pension, funds from the sale of the Hamptons land, stolen. Patrick, can I get it back? He nodded. Yes, but we need to do this correctly. If you confront her now, she could destroy evidence, transfer any remaining funds, and manipulate Robert into claiming you granted her permission. So, what do I do? We continue to gather proof, and in the meantime, he produced some papers. Let's review your legal situation. For the next hour, Mr. Miller elucidated something I was unaware of. Ernest's will had bequeathed the house solely to me. There was no co-ownership. No heirs existed until my passing. The house was entirely mine. Valerie has no right to this property, Beatrice. You can ask them to leave at any time. We also examined the bank accounts. This was a mistake. You should never have given her access, but we can still remedy it. We're going to open a new account solely in your name, and we're going to transfer everything that's left before she realizes. What if she gets angry? Let her get angry. It's your money. I departed that office with a plan Valerie would never foresee. The fresh air of the street filled my lungs. For the first time in years, I walked with my head held high. I opened the new bank account the next day. I transferred the remaining $20,000 before Valerie could access it. I obtained copies of all bank statements. I had the investigator photograph the jewelry at the pawn shop, and I began recording. My cell phone became my clandestine weapon. I would casually place it on the table during conversations. I recorded Valerie telling a friend on the phone, I've almost convinced Robert to have the old lady sign a power of attorney. After that, we can do whatever we want. I recorded her yelling, this house needs a renovation. I'm not going to live in a museum. I recorded Robert asking, what if my mom finds out? And her response, she won't find out. She barely thinks straight anymore. Each recording was a stab to the heart, but it was also ammunition. Mr. Miller instructed me to be patient, to await the opportune moment. We can't attack yet. We need more. We need her to become so confident that she makes an irreversible mistake. And then, one night, I overheard something that altered everything. But before that came the day that completely shattered me. September 23rd, my birthday. For 68 years, that date had symbolized celebration. Ernest always awoke me with a magnificent brunch spread. My children filled the house with flowers. But this year would be different. It was my first birthday without Ernest. On the morning of the 23rd, I awoke with a knot in my stomach. Robert had already departed for work early. Valerie was still asleep. I waited. I made coffee. I sat watching the clock. 8 just passed. 9. 10. Nobody uttered a word. At 11, Valerie emerged from her room, yawning, scrolling through her phone. "Good morning, Mom." "Good morning," I replied, expectant. But she simply poured herself juice and sat down for breakfast without glancing up. Nothing. Not a happy birthday, not a hug, nothing. I swallowed the lump in my throat. The coffee had grown cold in my cup, tasting bitter and acrid, like my life at that moment. At 3 in the afternoon, Valerie received several calls. Yes, come over at 7. Bring snacks, it's going to be awesome." My heart soared. A party? Had they planned a surprise party for me? God, what a fool I was. At 6, Valerie found me in the living room. "Mom, I have some friends coming over in a little while. Could you please stay in your room? We're going to be loud." I froze. "Your friends? Valerie? Today is my birthday." She blinked. "Oh, that's right. Happy birthday, Mom." And she resumed tidying the living room. "Valerie, I thought, what did you think?" The words caught in my throat. "Nothing. Forget it." "Okay. Well, can you help me with the appetizers then?" And there I was, in my own house, on my birthday, preparing snacks for the friends of the woman who had robbed me. At 7, they began to arrive. 5 women, boisterous, heavily made up with glasses of wine. Valerie greeted them with effusive hugs. "This is Beatrice, my mother-in-law. Mother, greet them, and then you're welcome to retire to your room for a rest." I felt like an inconvenient piece of furniture. However, I didn't leave. Something within me refused to hide on my own birthday. I sat in a corner, unnoticed. They started playing music, opened bottles, and laughed boisterously. Nobody spoke to me. I was simply present, in the blue dress Ernest had given me, feeling like a phantasm in my own existence. Then I overheard the conversation that utterly devastated me. Valerie was in the kitchen with 2 friends, and the kitchen was directly behind where I was seated. "Hey girl, when are you 2 moving into your own place?" Valerie lowered her voice, but not sufficiently. "Why would we? This house will be ours soon." "How?" "The old woman has already signed multiple documents without reading them. Robert has power of attorney. It's just a matter of time." My blood ran cold. But what about her? "I've almost persuaded Robert to put her in a nursing home. He has a cousin in Austin with a good facility. It's not expensive. And once she's there," she chuckled, a cruel laugh. "Once she's there, we'll sell this old house, purchase something modern, and keep the remainder. This property is worth $8 million. Can you imagine?" "But Valerie, what if she resists? Girl, the old woman is already senile. She forgets everything. She can't reason properly. It'll be incredibly easy to get a doctor to declare she needs specialized care." The 3 of them laughed. I was mere feet away, listening as they plotted to steal my life. And the worst, the absolute worst part, was when Robert arrived. He walked through the door, noted the gathering, and greeted Valerie's friends with a smile. "Honey, come here," Valerie called him. Robert entered the kitchen, and from my corner, I observed them speaking in hushed tones. I couldn't hear clearly, but I saw Valerie gesture in my direction. I noticed Robert's uneasy expression. I saw him nod. My son had just assented to the scheme to confine me to a nursing home and seize my house. Something inside me shattered at that instant. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply felt the last vestige of affection I held for this situation crumble into dust. I rose silently. None of Valerie's friends saw me depart. They were too engrossed in laughter and drinking my wine. Robert didn't see me either. I went upstairs, closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed, and only then did I permit myself to weep. I wept for Ernest, for my lost jewelry, for my son who had chosen that woman over me, for the woman I had become, terrified, diminished, invisible. But most of all, I wept with fury. My fist clenched the sheets until my knuckles turned white. The fabric strained under the pressure because downstairs, people were celebrating my impending disappearance, and I was up here, hiding like a coward. I gazed at my reflection in the dresser mirror. The woman staring back had swollen eyes, smudged makeup, a creased blue dress. She looked like defeat. But then I saw something else. I saw the eyes of the woman who had nurtured 4 children on her own while Ernest worked double shifts. I saw the hands of the woman who had built a home from scratch. I saw the resilience of the woman who had endured the loss of her husband. And I made a resolution. No more. No more concealment. No more allowing them to trample over me. No more being the docile old woman Valerie desired. I dried my tears. I stood up. I took out my cell phone. I dialed Mr. Miller's number. "Patrick, it's Beatrice. Are you all right? It's 9 o'clock at night. I need you to expedite everything. I cannot wait any longer." What happened? Today is my birthday, and I just overheard my daughter-in-law planning to place me in a nursing home and steal my house, with my son's complicity. There was a silence. "Beatrice, I am so sorry. I don't desire pity. I desire justice. When can we act?" Mr. Miller took a deep breath. "Grant me 2 weeks. I'll prepare everything, the documents, the evidence, the witnesses, and we're going to put an end to this once and for all. 2 weeks. But I need something else. Name it. I need my other children to come. Laura, Charles, Patricia, I need them here for what's coming." "I'll arrange it. Anything else?" I looked toward my bedroom door. I could hear the laughter from the party downstairs, a party in my house without me, on my birthday. Yes, I want Valerie to never forget the day she underestimated Beatrice Miller. When I hung up, I looked in the mirror one more time. But this time, the woman who looked back at me did not appear to be a victim. She looked like a warrior. And Valerie was about to discover that the gravest decision of her life was humiliating me on my birthday. The longest 2 weeks of my life commenced the morning after my birthday. I awoke with swollen eyes, but with a mental clarity I hadn't possessed in years. Downstairs, I heard Valerie cleaning up the remnants of her party, empty bottles, dirty plates. I descended and found her tidying up, looking annoyed. "Good morning, Mom. My friends created quite a mess, didn't they?" I looked at her in silence. "Did you enjoy your party?" She didn't even catch the sarcasm. "Oh yes, it was spectacular. Too bad you retired so early." I smiled, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Yes, too bad. And I continued to the kitchen, but inside I was seething. That same afternoon, while Valerie was out shopping with money she didn't yet know she no longer controlled, I was in Mr. Miller's office. "All right, Beatrice, this is what we have so far." He displayed the investigator's photographs. My jewelry in the pawn shop, the bank statements with the marked withdrawals, the suspicious transfers. This is all solid evidence, but for a strong legal case, we require witnesses, people who observed the abuse like who? Your other children, your friends, anyone who witnessed the change in your life since Valerie arrived. I thought of Laura, of how she had forewarned me from the beginning. My daughter Laura, she resides in Chicago. She always sensed something wasn't right. Perfect. Can you ask her to come? Yes, but I don't want Valerie to become suspicious. Mr. Miller smiled. Then we'll invent an excuse, a family pretext. That night I called Laura. "Mom, are you all right? You almost never call this late." "Honey, I need you to come visit me." "Did something occur?" "Yes, but I cannot tell you over the phone. Just trust me. Can you come this weekend?" There was a pause. "Mom, you're alarming me." "Laura, please, I'll explain everything when you get here, but it's urgent." "I'm coming. I'll be there Friday." I also called my other 2 children. Charles would arrive from Austin, Patricia from Los Angeles. I informed Valerie it was just a casual family get-together, that I missed my children and wished to see them all. She frowned. "And why do you want them all to come? Did something happen?" "I just want to see my family. Is there a problem? For the first time, I detected a flicker of nervousness in her eyes. No, of course not. It's your house. But I noticed how she gripped her cell phone tighter. On Friday night, Laura arrived first. When she opened the door and saw me, her face fell. Mom, you're so thin. Are you eating properly? She embraced me tightly, and I nearly broke down right then, but I restrained myself. Valerie was observing from the stairs. I'm fine, honey. I simply missed you. That night, when everyone was asleep, Laura came to my room. Okay, Mom, tell me what's transpiring. And I narrated everything, every humiliation, every theft, every falsehood. I watched her face transform from shock to fury. That witch! Mom, why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I was afraid of being alone, afraid you'd think I was exaggerating. Laura took my hands. You are never alone, Mom, never. And I swear to you, that woman is going to account for what she did to you. She's already paying now, but I need your assistance. I detailed the plan that Mr. Miller and I had devised. Are you confident about this, Mom? I've never been more certain of anything. Laura nodded. Then count on me. On Saturday, Charles and Patricia arrived, the house filled with voices, with laughter, with life once more, but also with tension because Valerie sensed something was amiss. I could perceive it in how she watched us, how she listened to our conversations, how she attempted to control every movement. The aroma of the Thanksgiving turkey we were preparing infused the kitchen. Valerie would enter every 5 minutes, feigning to search for something, her eyes vigilant like a caged animal. That afternoon, as we were readying the meal, I gathered my 3 children in the backyard. I need you to listen to me attentively. And I recounted everything to them again. I saw Charles, my eldest, clench his fists. That woman. And Robert knows? Robert is part of the problem. He's so manipulated by her that he can no longer distinguish right from wrong. Patricia, my youngest daughter, had tears in her eyes. Mom, forgive us. We didn't realize. We live so far away. It's not your fault. Valerie is very cunning. She knows how to conceal things, but not anymore. What do you need us to do? Laura inquired. I need you to be here, to be witnesses, so that when the time comes, you corroborate everything I'm going to state. Count on us, Charles declared firmly, the 3 of them. But one crucial element of the plan was still absent. My sister Helen, as a lawyer, understood the law better than anyone in the family. I telephoned her that night. Beatrice, what's wrong? Your daughter Laura texted me saying I needed to come urgently. Helen, I need you. I need you to come and bring your legal acumen, and I need you to be a witness to something that's going to alter everything. Is it serious? Very serious. I'll depart tomorrow morning. Helen arrived on Sunday. She entered the house as if it were a casual weekend visit. Valerie greeted her with a forced smile. Sister-in-law, what a surprise. I didn't realize you were coming. Family, I'm seizing the opportunity that everyone is here to visit. But that night in my room, Helen reviewed every document Mr. Miller had prepared. This is solid, Beatrice, very solid. You have been accused of family fraud, specifically under Penal Code Article 187, along with financial abuse and asset misappropriation. Is this sufficient grounds for a lawsuit? And if you desired, would it be enough to send her to prison? My husband is gone, and I don't wish to destroy her, only to reclaim my life. You then offer her a choice. Either she returns everything she took and leaves, or she faces the full force of the law. However, you must remain steadfast, Beatrice, because once she understands the implications, she will retaliate with everything she has. I am prepared. And indeed I was, because in those 2 weeks, beyond gathering my family, I secured every significant document from this house: the deed, Nest's will, property certificates, and bank titles. Everything was now safely in a bank deposit box, accessible only to me. I also obtained something vital, an updated medical certificate. Mr. Miller arranged for me to see a trusted geriatrician who performed a comprehensive battery of tests, assessing my memory, reasoning, and mental capacity. The results stated, Mrs. Beatrice Miller, age 68, is in full possession of her mental faculties. She shows no signs of cognitive decline or dementia. This document was invaluable, as it would serve as medical proof against Valerie's attempts to portray me as senile, incapable of sound judgment, or needing someone else to manage my life. The night before the decisive confrontation, sleep eluded me. I sat on my bed, gazing at Ernest's photograph on my dresser. Honey, tomorrow I'm getting our house back. I'm reclaiming our dignity, and I'm going to teach that woman the lesson she deserves. I could almost hear his comforting voice. That's how you do it, my queen. Show them what you're made of. At 7:00 on Monday morning, Mr. Miller arrived at my house. Valerie paled upon seeing him. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Patrick Miller, attorney at law. I am here to speak with Mrs. Beatrice." "An attorney? What does she need an attorney for?" Mr. Miller's gaze was professionally cold. "That is a matter I shall discuss with my client. Where is she?" I'm right here," I stated, descending the stairs with my head held high. For the first time in 2 years, Valerie truly saw me, not as a submissive old woman, nor as a foolish mother-in-law, but as I always was, the owner of this house and the woman about to reclaim everything. The trap was set, the pieces were in place, and Valerie remained oblivious to the imminent loss of everything. Mr. Miller and I settled in the living room. Valerie observed us from the kitchen, feigning coffee preparation, but her hands trembled visibly. "Mrs. Beatrice, Mr. Miller announced in a voice loud enough for Valerie to clearly hear, "I need you to review these documents and confirm a few details." He produced a folder, though not the one containing the incriminating evidence not yet. It was a decoy. "I have the updated appraisal of your property here. The house is valued at $8 million. I noticed Valerie freeze in the kitchen. She was hanging on every word. "I also need to confirm if you've signed any power of attorney recently." "No," I replied. "I have never signed any power of attorney." Valerie appeared in the doorway. "Mom, what is happening here?" "Legal matters," I stated. "Nothing that concerns you." But she tried to approach. "Valerie," Mr. Miller interjected, "this is a private conversation between my client and me. Could you grant us a moment?" She froze, then nodded, and ascended the stairs. I knew she was eavesdropping from above. "Perfect," Mr. Miller continued in a hushed tone. "Now, we need Robert Gupp present for the final confrontation. When does he return from work?" "At 7 tonight. "Good. Are your other children ready?" "All of them. Laura, Charles, Patricia, and my sister Helen. They're awaiting my signal." "Then we proceed tonight." Mr. Miller rose to leave, but before exiting, he declared loudly, "Mrs. Beatrice, please come to my office early tomorrow morning to sign the update to your will." I saw Valerie rush down the stairs the moment Mr. Miller closed the door. "Will, you're going to change your will?" "It's just a routine update." But I perceived the fear in her eyes, knowing that if I altered my will, all her schemes would unravel. The remainder of the day was fraught with tension. Valerie remained glued to my side, following me everywhere. At 5 odd in the afternoon, Laura, Charles, and Patricia arrived for a casual visit. "Mom, we were in the neighborhood and wanted to say hi." Helen arrived minutes later. Valerie was visibly agitated. Too many people, too many unexpected visitors. "What are we celebrating?" "Nothing," Charles replied coolly. "We just want to spend time with our mother." The tension was palpable, thick enough to be cut with a knife. Precisely at 7, Robert returned home from work. The instant he walked in, he sensed something was amiss. "What's going on? Why is everyone here?" "Son, sit down. We need to have a family talk." Valerie rushed to his side. "Robert, your mother brought a lawyer here today. She's planning something because—" "I need to plan something. I need to protect my assets." Robert frowned. "Protect them from what, Mom?" "From those who wish to steal them from me." The silence was absolute. Yet I saw something in Robert's eyes, a flicker of guilt, of doubt, as though a part of him already surmised what was coming. Valerie let out a nervous laugh. "Mom, what are you talking about? Nobody wants to steal anything from you." "No." I pulled out my cell phone, pressed play, and Valerie's voice filled the living room. "I've almost convinced Robert to have the old lady sign a power of attorney. After that, we can do whatever we want." Robert turned pale. What? What is that? It's your wife on my birthday, talking to her friends while I was sitting in that corner. I pressed play again. The old lady has already signed several papers without reading. Robert has power of attorney. It's only a matter of time. That's not true, Valerie shrieked. I never said that. No? Laura stood up furious. I pressed play again. I've almost convinced Robert to put her in a nursing home. He has a cousin in Austin with a good facility. It's not expensive. And once she's there, we'll sell this old house, buy something modern, and keep what's left over. This place is worth $8 million. Can you imagine? Robert stood up, staggering. I watched reality crash over him like a wave. His hands trembled. His face lost all color. No, it can't be. She's lying, Valerie shrieked. She edited those recordings. None of that is true. And is this a lie, too? Helen placed the photographs of the jewelry at the pawn shop on the table. The jewelry you donated? Valerie looked at the photos and the color drained from her face. I was going to get it back. With what money? Charles laid the bank statements on the table. With the $89,000 you stole from our mother. The numbers were there, highlighted in yellow, impossible to deny. Transfers, withdrawals, excessive purchases, all in Valerie Ramirez's name. Robert took the papers with trembling hands. Valerie, what is this? We needed that money for the house. For what? Robert roared. We live in my mother's house. We don't pay rent. What did we need so much money for? For our future. Your mother has more than enough. It's not your money, Patricia said with disgust. It never was. Valerie turned to me with feigned tears in her eyes. Mom, please, I just wanted to help, to manage the money. Well, help. I stood up and my voice resonated in the room. You call stealing my jewelry helping, planning to put me in a nursing home, telling your friends I'm senile? I never said that. Yes, you did, Robert finally exploded. I heard you that night on my mother's birthday. You were in the kitchen with your friends. You said she couldn't reason well anymore, and His voice broke. I saw tears roll down his cheeks. I saw his shoulders slump under the weight of his guilt. And I did nothing. He turned to me with desperate eyes. Mom, forgive me. I was a coward. I heard her say those things, and I didn't defend you. I let her humiliate you. I let her rob you. Valerie tried to approach him. Robert, honey, listen to me. Don't touch me. He recoiled from her in disgust. You lied to me. You manipulated me. You made me betray my own mother. I did everything for us. You did it for yourself. It was always for you, for your ambition, for your greed. He turned to me. Mom, tell me what to do. Anything. I'll fix this. I took a deep breath. This was the moment. Robert, there's only one way to fix this. I looked Valerie straight in the eye. Either you return every dollar you stole, sign a document renouncing any claim to my assets, and move out. Valerie's mouth fell open, incredulous. Or you face criminal charges for aggravated family fraud under the New York Penal Code. Helen produced a document. 3 to 12 years in prison. That's what you're facing, Valerie. I've already consulted with several criminal lawyers. The case is solid. Valerie staggered. No, you can't do this to me. You did this to yourself, Laura said coldly. No one forced you to steal. I didn't steal. I was managing the family's money. There is no family. My voice cut through the air like a knife. You are not my family. You are a thief who took advantage of my loneliness. And it's over, Robert. Valerie looked at him, pleading. Tell them it's not true. Tell them it was all a misunderstanding. But Robert looked at her as if she were a stranger. Get out of this house. What? Get out. I don't want to see you again. Valerie began to cry for real now. No, you can't do this to me. I love Robert. I did everything because I love him. You don't love anyone but yourself. Helen placed the documents in front of her. Sign or we call the police right now. Valerie looked at the papers, then at Robert, then at me, and then, defeated, she picked up the pen. She signed every document with a trembling hand. A commitment to return $89,000 in 60 days. A waiver of any claim to Beatrice Miller's property, and an eviction agreement to be executed within 15 days. Upon completion, she let the pen fall. Satisfied? Are you happy now? No, but I've found peace. Valerie rose, cast a final glance at Robert, and ascended the stairs. We distinctly heard her packing, the opening of drawers, and clothes being tossed into luggage. An hour later, she reappeared with 2 bags. Robert avoided her gaze. She paused at the door. You'll regret this one day, you old hag. No, the only one who'll regret this is you, when you're utterly alone and grasp that your greed cost you everything. Valerie departed, and I secured the door behind her, forever. Yet the narrative wasn't over. The most crucial part was yet to unfold, reclaiming what was rightfully mine and ensuring Valerie honored her word. The house felt odd after Valerie's departure, quiet, not with the oppressive silence of the preceding 2 years, but with a serene stillness, almost clean. The very air seemed lighter, as if the house had exhaled in relief. Robert remained on the sofa for hours, speechless, tearless, merely staring into space. My other children stayed overnight. Laura slept in her former room, Charles and Patricia in the guest rooms, and I, for the first time in ages, slept soundly through the night, free from restless tossing and turning, free from fear. The next morning, Robert entered my room, his eyes red and swollen, indicating a sleepless night. Mom, I lack the words to beg for your forgiveness. I sat on the bed's edge, giving him space to speak. I was a coward, an imbecile, a terrible son. Robert, no. Mom, let me say it. He sat beside me. Dad loved you profoundly. He revered you. He admired you. And upon his death, I should have been the man to care for you. Instead, tears began to stream down his face. I permitted that woman to enter your life and dismantle it. I listened as she humiliated you and remained silent. I watched as she robbed you and feigned ignorance. I even nodded along when she planned to institutionalize you. He buried his face in his hands. How can you even look at me, Mom? I don't merit your forgiveness. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Robert, listen to me. He looked up. Valerie was shrewd. She knew precisely how to manipulate you, to instill guilt, to isolate you from me. But I'm an adult. I should have realized. And you did realize in the end. When it truly mattered, you chose to do the right thing. You expelled Valerie. You defended me. That counts. Can you forgive me? I gazed into his eyes. I saw the little boy who once brought me flowers from the garden, the teenager who hugged me during nightmares, the man who wept in my arms the day we buried his father. I already have, son. But now you must forgive yourself. Robert embraced me, crying as he hadn't since childhood. And I held him, for despite everything, he remained my baby. The scent of his hair brought back memories of his infancy, when he'd fall asleep in my arms. But the battle was not over. Mr. Miller called me that afternoon. Beatrice, we need to retrieve the jewelry. The pawn ticket is in Valerie's name, so technically she's the one who has to pick it up. But she won't do it. Exactly, so we need to pressure her. Do you have a way to contact her? Robert has her number. Good, tell him that if she doesn't retrieve the jewelry in 3 days, we file the criminal charges. Robert made the call in front of all of us. Valerie answered on the 3rd ring. What do you want? Her voice was laced with bitterness. The jewelry. You have 3 days to get it back and return it to my mother or she files charges. And this time, I'm not kidding. A silence followed. I hate all of you. She hung up. 2 days later, a package arrived at the house. Inside was my jewelry, the emerald earrings, the pearl necklace, the gold bracelets, the diamond ring. Each piece was wrapped in newspaper, carelessly, like trash, but they were there. I took the pearl necklace in my hands, and tears fell on their own. They were the pearls my mother gave me on my wedding day, the ones I wore to every significant event in my life. You got them back, Mom? Laura said, hugging me. Yes, I got them back. But the most important thing was still missing, the money. Mr. Miller began the legal process to recover the $89,000. Valerie had signed the payment agreement for 60 days, but we all knew she didn't have that kind of money. She'll have to sell things, borrow, or get a job that allows her to pay in installments, Mr. Miller explained. But she will pay, because if she doesn't, she goes straight to prison. The ensuing weeks centered on reconstruction. I changed all the locks on the house with Robert's help. I regained control of my bank account, opening a new one that only I managed. I returned to my book club. Lucy greeted me with tears. "Beatrice, I thought you'd never come back." "Me too, but here I am." And I recounted everything to her and my other friends. They listened in silence, some with tears, others with indignation. "We should have done more," Lucy said. "We should have insisted when we saw something wasn't right." "It's not your fault." Valerie was very good at lying. But the most pivotal conversation was the one I had with Robert one night. We were in the backyard, the same spot where Ernest used to barbecue on Sundays. "Mom, I want a divorce." "Are you sure?" "Completely. I can't remain married to someone who inflicted such harm on my family." "To you, Robert. You don't have to do it for me." "I'm doing it for me. Because when I look in the mirror, I don't recognize myself. I became someone Dad would have despised, and I need to find myself again. Your father loved you, son, and he would be proud that you had the courage to make things right." "You think so?" "I know so." Robert initiated the divorce proceedings that same week. Valerie attempted to resist. She demanded alimony, a share of the marital property, but she possessed nothing. They had resided in my house, using my funds. There were no marital assets to divide. The judge ruled in Robert's favor. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. And during that time, Valerie began paying me. $500 the first week, a $1,000 the next. These were small amounts, but they were payments. Mr. Miller maintained strict records. "At this rate, it'll take her years to pay you back," he told me. "It doesn't matter as long as she pays." Because the significant thing was no longer the money. It was justice. It was knowing that Valerie had lost everything. The husband, the house, the comfort, the life she tried to steal from me. And I had reclaimed what was mine. My dignity, my family, my peace. 6 months after the confrontation, Robert was still living with me. But now it was different. He cooked. He cleaned. He accompanied me to the market. He sought my opinion on everything. He became my son again. One afternoon, as we were having coffee in the backyard, he told me, "Mom, I want you to know I'm going to atone for everything that happened. I'll work twice as hard. I'll help you with everything. And when you're no longer here—" "Robert, don't talk like that. Let me finish. When you're no longer here, I'm going to make sure that this house, your legacy, everything you and Dad built, is respected and honored. It's the least I can do." "You're already doing it, son. Every day." And it was true, because the Robert I had now was not the weak, manipulated man from months ago. He was a man who had fallen, yes, but who had learned how to get back up, just like me. The jewelry went back into the safe, but this time I changed the combination, and only I knew it, because I had learned the hardest lesson of my life. Never, ever give your power to someone else. It doesn't matter how much you love them. It doesn't matter how much you trust them. Your life, your money, your decisions are yours, and no one has the right to take them from you. But the story still had one final chapter, because 6 months later, I received a call I never expected. 6 months after expelling Valerie, life had settled into a quiet rhythm. Robert was engaged in an honest job. He accompanied me to church on Sundays. We cooked together. We conversed, truly conversed, as we hadn't in years. I had regained my book club, my friends, my independence. The house once again felt like a home. But then that call came. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was watering the plants in the garden when my cell phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello, Mrs. Beatrice Miller?" A formal female voice inquired. "Yes, this is she." "This is Monica Herrera from the law firm Herrera and Associates. I represent Mrs. Valerie Ramirez." My hand tightened on the phone. "What does she want?" "My client requests a meeting with you in person. She says it's urgent." "I have nothing to talk to her about. Mrs. Miller, I understand your position, but I assure you it's worth your while to hear what she has to say. Could you meet tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon at my office?" Something in her tone made me hesitate. What is this about? I would prefer my client explain it to you in person, but I can tell you she has a proposal that I believe will interest you. That night, I spoke with Mr. Miller. Do you think I should go? Go? But I'm going with you, and don't sign anything until I've reviewed it. Do you think it's a trap? With Valerie, anything is possible, but if she has a lawyer, it means she wants to do something by the book. That's a good sign. The next day, Mr. Miller and I arrived at Ms. Herrera's firm. It was a modern building on Park Avenue with elegant offices. We were shown into a conference room, and there she was, Valerie. But she wasn't the same woman who had left my house 6 months ago. She was thin, too thin, with deep dark circles under her eyes, her hair unkempt, her clothes wrinkled. She looked utterly destroyed. For a moment, I almost felt pity. Almost. Mrs. Miller, Ms. Herrera said, "Thank you for coming. My client requested this meeting because she has a proposal to settle her debt with you. She's paying in installments. That's what we agreed." "I understand," Valerie interjected softly. "However, at this rate, it will take me 8 years to repay you, and I can't endure such a life for that long. You should have considered this earlier." Valerie lowered her gaze. "I know, and you are justified in your hatred. I was a monster, a swindler, a manipulator, and now I've returned to seek forgiveness. Do you believe a simple apology can undo everything? No. I realize nothing I say can rectify my actions, but I want to attempt to make amends." Ms. Herrera placed a folder on the table. "My client recently inherited an apartment from her maternal grandmother. It is valued at $90,000. She opened the folder, revealing deeds, appraisals, and various documents. "Valerie proposes to transfer ownership of this apartment to you as full settlement of her debt. The $90,000 covers the $89,000 she owes you, plus interest and legal expenses." Mr. Miller took the documents and began to examine them. I looked at Valerie. "Why? Why not just sell it and give me the cash?" Valerie took a deep breath. "Because I need to close this chapter. I need your forgiveness to move forward with my life." "You don't need my forgiveness for anything." "Yes, I do. These past 6 months have been agonizing. I lost everything: my husband, my home, my reputation. My friends abandoned me when they discovered my actions." She began to cry genuinely. "I work 12 hours a day in a call center to afford rent for a wretched room. I eat once a day. I can't sleep, consumed by thoughts of all the destruction I caused." "Good. That's what you deserve." I know. But I swear I've changed, that I comprehend the gravity of my actions, that I regret them every single night. Regret won't restore the time you stole from me. It won't return the dignity you stripped away. It won't erase the humiliations. Valerie nodded, wiping her tears. "You're right. None of that can be undone. But this apartment is the only valuable thing I have left, and I'm offering it to you. All of it. So you know I am truly sorry." Mr. Miller finished reviewing the documents. "Beatrice, everything is in order. The apartment has a clean title. If you accept, we can finalize the transfer next week." I glanced at the papers, then at Valerie. A part of me wished to refuse. I wanted her to continue paying for years, to suffer as much as I had, but another part of me was weary of carrying that resentment. "Where is the apartment?" "In Astoria, Queens," the lawyer replied. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. It requires renovation, but it's in a desirable area. An idea sparked in my mind. Robert is getting divorced. He's staying with me, but he eventually needs his independence. Mr. Miller looked at me with understanding. "You could renovate that apartment and provide it to him as a fresh start." I looked at Valerie. "I accept the apartment, but on one condition." "Anything." "I want you to sign an additional document, one where you acknowledge in writing everything you did, the fraud, the abuse, the lies, everything." "What for?" "So that if you ever try anything against me or my family again, I will possess irrefutable proof." Valerie swallowed hard. "Okay, I'll sign it." Ms. Herrera prepared the document right there. Valerie wrote in her own hand, "I, Valerie Ramirez, acknowledge having committed fraud and financial abuse against Mrs. Beatrice Miller. I pawned her jewelry without her consent. I withdrew $89,000 from her accounts without authorization. I manipulated and humiliated her for 2 years. I acknowledge my full responsibility and guilt. I see the apartment located in Astoria as compensation and full payment of my debt. She signed with a trembling hand. Then we signed the apartment transfer documents. Everything was legalized in less than an hour. When we finished, Valerie sat there staring at her hands. Now what? Now you leave and you never approach my family again. Ever. Do you forgive me? I paused at the door and looked at her one last time. I don't know, Valerie. Perhaps one day, but not today. I understand, but I hope you find peace, that you learn from this, and that you never do this to anyone ever again. I left the office with Mr. Miller. In the elevator, he asked me, "Are you all right?" Yes, because it's finally over. It's truly over. A week later, the apartment was legally transferred to my name. Robert and I went to see it. It was neglected. Yes, it needed paint, repairs, and care, but it held potential. Mom, do you truly want this to be mine? Yes, but on one condition. What's that? That you renovate it through your own effort, that you work to transform it into your home. I don't want it to be a handout. I want you to appreciate its value. Robert nodded with tears in his eyes. I will, Mom. I promise. And he kept his word. For the subsequent 3 months, Robert spent every weekend working on that apartment. He painted the walls, fixed the plumbing, installed new floors. I assisted him. My other children came to support him. It evolved into a family endeavor. And when it was completed, the apartment was beautiful, modest, yet cozy, clean, and filled with light. It's perfect, Robert declared the day we finished. Are you moving in now? Not yet. If you don't mind, I'll stay with you a little longer. This house is where I need to be right now. I would love that, son. But the crucial thing is that now we have options. Robert had his own living space when he needed it, and I had my house back, completely mine. No debts, no swindlers, no manipulators, just mine. One afternoon, as I was arranging my jewelry in the safe, Robert entered my room. Mom, something arrived for you. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Mrs. Beatrice, I don't expect you to read this letter. You will probably tear it up as soon as you see my name, but I needed to write it. I've spent these months in therapy trying to comprehend why I did what I did, why I was so cruel to someone who only showed me kindness. My therapist says I was carrying a lot of resentment from my own childhood, that I projected my anger onto you, that I treated you the way my own mother treated me. It's not an excuse, just an explanation. I want you to know that I live every day with the shame of my actions, and that if I could turn back time, I would do everything differently. Thank you for not putting me in prison. Thank you for giving me a chance to pay my debt. And most of all, thank you for teaching me the most important lesson of my life, that dignity cannot be bought, sold, or stolen. You never lost your dignity, Mrs. Beatrice, not even when I tried to take it from you. I hope one day I can look in the mirror and feel a fraction of the pride you must feel. With respect and repentance, Valerie. I folded the letter slowly. Robert was watching me expectantly. What does it say? That she learned her lesson, and that's all I needed. I put the letter in a drawer. I didn't tear it up because, despite all the harm Valerie inflicted upon me, a part of me wished to believe that people can change, that mistakes can teach, that even the worst downfalls can lead to rising stronger, just as it happened to me today. 1 year after that terrible afternoon in front of the empty safe, I awaken in my house. My house. The sun's rays stream through my bedroom window. I hear the birds in the garden, smell the coffee Robert is brewing in the kitchen, and I smile because this is peace. I get up and look at the photograph of Ernest on my dresser. Good morning, my love. Today is a special day. Today I turn 69, but this birthday will be vastly different from last year's. I go downstairs and find the living room adorned with balloons. My 4 children are there. Laura flew in from Chicago, Charles from Austin, Patricia from Los Angeles, and Robert is by the table with a homemade cake. Happy birthday, Mom. Tears flowed naturally, but they were tears of joy. My children, all together, Laura hugged me first. We weren't going to miss your birthday, Mom. Never again. We spent the day as a true family. We cooked together. We laughed. We reminisced about stories from their childhood. There was no tension, no secrets, no manipulation, just love. In the afternoon, Lucy arrived with the other ladies from the book club. They brought gifts wrapped in colorful paper, flowers, genuine hugs. Beatrice, you look radiant. It's because I'm free, finally free. That night, after everyone had departed, Robert and I sat in the garden, in the same chairs where Ernest and I used to have coffee every Sunday. Mom, there's something I want to tell you. Tell me, son. I met someone. My heart fluttered slightly. A woman? He nodded, nervous. Her name is Andrea. She's a teacher. I met her at the gym 3 months ago. She's different. Different how? Honest, straightforward. She works diligently for her students. She's not interested in money or appearances, just in being a good person. I smiled. I'd love to meet her. Really? I thought after Valerie, you wouldn't want me to bring anyone else here. Robert, not everyone is like Valerie, and you deserve to be happy. You deserve genuine love. But I'm taking it slowly. I'm not going to rush this time. I'm going to get to know her well. And if the relationship ever becomes serious, you'll be the first to meet her, and your opinion will matter. That's what I like to hear, son. We sat in silence, watching the stars. Mom, did you ever truly forgive Valerie? I pondered the question. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, Robert, and it doesn't mean what she did was acceptable. It means letting go of the burden of resentment so that I can live in peace. And have you let it go? Most of it, yes. Some days it still hurts to remember, but I don't harbor hatred for her anymore. That's progress. Robert nodded. I don't hate her either, but I learned a great deal from that horrible experience. What did you learn? That real love doesn't make you feel insignificant. It helps you grow. That a true partner supports you, they don't control you, and that I should always, always listen to my gut. Because deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I was just afraid to admit it. That's the most valuable lesson, son. The following months brought beautiful changes. Robert has finally settled into his apartment, the very one we remodeled together. Still, he visits me thrice weekly. We share meals, converse, and sustain our bond. When I first encountered Andrea, I immediately understood Robert's profound excitement. She possessed warm eyes and an authentic smile, speaking to me with genuine respect, devoid of pretense. She inquired about my life, my interests, and my experiences. After she departed, I remarked to Robert, Son, that is a truly exceptional woman. Laura, Charles, and Patricia also began to visit more frequently, rotating their stays. 1 month Laura and her family, the next Charles, then Patricia. My home once again resonated with the laughter of grandchildren and the vibrant energy of life. I have reestablished my routines. Saturday mornings find me at the farmer's market, where I select fresh vegetables, delectable pastries, and flowers for my living room. Thursdays are dedicated to my book club. We are currently engrossed in Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude, discussing each chapter with fervor. On Sundays, I attend church, lighting a candle for Ernest, and silently sharing with him all that has transpired. I did it, my love, I whisper. I've reclaimed our home. I've reclaimed our family. In some inexplicable way, I sense his presence, his pride. One day, 18 months after the events unfolded, I received an unexpected phone call. It was Miss Herrera, Valerie's attorney. Mrs. Beatrice, she began, I'm calling to inform you that Valerie has relocated to Hawaii. She secured a position as an administrative assistant at an elementary school. Puzzled, I asked, Why are you telling me this? She replied, Because she asked me to convey her message. She is rebuilding her life. She's still undergoing therapy, and she thinks of you with gratitude. Gratitude. As peculiar as it sounded, she expressed gratitude. She said you taught her that actions have consequences, that you could have legally ruined her, but you offered her a chance for redemption, and that saved her. I hung up the phone, pondering her words. There was no satisfaction, no resentment, only acceptance. Valerie embarked on her path, and I on mine, and that is perfectly all right. Today, while watering the garden, I pause before the rose bush Ernest planted 3 decades ago. It bursts with vibrant, life-affirming red roses. I snip one and bring it indoors, placing it in a living room vase, reflecting on my entire journey. The frightened, isolated, manipulated woman I once was. The strong, independent, dignified woman I have become. The jewelry rests securely in the safe, protected. Yet I no longer require it to affirm my worth. I have discovered that my true value lies not in material possessions, but in my resilience, my capacity to rise after a fall, my ability to forgive without forgetting, and my unwavering dignity that no one will ever again diminish. Robert is spending the evening with Andrea. They've invited me to join them for dinner. It's a simple meal at a local restaurant, yet it brims with genuine conversation, laughter, and mutual respect. I observe Robert's gaze towards Andrea, filled with admiration, tenderness, and authentic love, a stark contrast to the fear and guilt with which he once regarded Valerie. I know now that my son has finally healed just as I have. That night, back in my home, I sit in the living room, a cup of tea in hand. My gaze sweeps across the furniture I fought so hard to retain, the family photographs adorning the walls, the serene tranquility of a peaceful home. I contemplate all the women enduring what I endured, those manipulated by family members, those afraid of solitude, those who believe their value diminishes with age, and I yearn to tell them, it is never too late to reclaim your dignity. You are never too old to defend yourself. Familial love does not condone abuse. Your life is yours. Your money is yours. Your decisions are yours. And if someone makes you feel diminished, insignificant, or worthless, walk away. Because you merit respect. You merit true love. You merit peace. My recovered jewels sparkle in their safe, but their brilliance pales in comparison to the light I now carry within me. The light of a woman who stumbled and rose stronger. The light of a grandmother who reclaimed her dominion. The light of Beatrice Miller, 69 years old, widow, mother, grandmother, survivor, warrior, free. As I extinguish the lights for the night, I whisper one final sentiment. Thank you, Ernest, for teaching me to be strong, for leaving me this home, for loving me so deeply that even after your passing, your love protected me. I close my eyes and drift into peaceful slumber. For finally, after the fiercest storm of my life, I have found the sun, and this sun no one will ever extinguish. The end. This story has transformed me eternally. I have learned that age does not dictate one's strength, that loneliness does not excuse tolerating abuse, that respect is not pleaded for, it is commanded. If this narrative resonated with you, if you identified with any aspect of it, or if you know someone who needs to hear it, please share your thoughts. Tell me where you are reading from. What lesson are you taking away? For ultimately, our most precious possessions are not material jewels. It is the invaluable jewel of our own dignity. And that is something no one can steal from you unless you allow it.